Hello everyone. Today I would be sharing a video where postcapsular rent occurred but somehow I managed it without doing vitrectomy. I was operating an old female patient was very uncooperative and she was not supporting the fixation. Pupil was not well dilated. I made two side port incisions, filled the chamber with the viscoelastics. Then I started capsular access. I tried to make a rexus of around 5.5 millimeter. It was pretty easy. So I finished the capsular access. Patient was having cortical cataract and nucleus density was grade 3, grade 4. I made 2.2 millimeter incision, and during incision the patient was moving the eye. I drained the viscoelastics and then I started doing hydrodissection and delineation. You can see during my hydrodissection and delineation procedures, pupil was very responsive. Then I started phaco-fragmentation. I always clear the anterior subcapsular plate before holding the nucleus. Very easily I divided the nucleus in two halves, then started phaco-fragmentation of one half, finished quite easily. Then I held the second piece, chopped it, and surgery was going well and it was well in my control. So without much of the time I finished phaco-fragmentation. Normally I try to remove the epinuclear plate with the help of phaco tip with the lower vacuum, but since the patient was not cooperative, I decided to remove the epinuclear plate with the irrigation aspiration tip. You can see that pupil has become more responsive and the pupil started constricting, but with the help of irrigation and aspiration tip and with the Sinskey hook, I hooked the iris and try to remove the epinuclear plate, and finally successfully I removed the epinuclear plate. I was very happy. So without much of the efforts I removed the whole of the nucleus and the cortical matter and the epinuclear plate. Here the posterior capsule was pretty clear, so I decided to flush with the hydrojet technique to remove the cells and fibers over the posterior capsule. Then I saw the big horizontal rent. Fortunately, there was no vitreous prolapse anteriorly. So I filled the chamber with viscoelastics and I took a deep breath. At this time, the single piece hydrophobic lens was loaded to be injected inside the eye, but never try to implant a thick single piece intraocular lens in the sulcus. I always keep inventory of multi-piece IOLs in the theater. They are to be called as rescue intraocular lenses in such scenarios. The multi-piece IOL cannot be implanted through 2.8 mm, so I extended the clear corneal incision to 3.2 mm and loaded the multi-piece implant in the cartridge. It is always advisable to learn this loading of a multi-piece IOL and always keep the inventory of multi-piece implants in the theater for such situations. Again, I filled the antechamber with high viscoelastics and tried to expose the anterior capsular access margin. Then gradually I started to inject the multi-piece implant and I took all precautions to keep the leading haptic over the anticapsular margin. Then easily with the Sinskey hook I dialed the trailing haptic and now the intraocular lens is sitting in the sulcus. I used intracameral miotic to constrict the pupil, and in such situations irrigation aspiration even with the low bottle height or by reducing the intraocular pressure is not safe, so always try to flush and remove the viscoelastics with the help of BSS. Such situations we always leave some amount of viscoelastics in the antechamber, and that may be reason for the raised intraocular pressure in the post-ops. So always advise and give anti-glaucoma medications in the post-op. Timely detection and management of PCR is key to success. Thanks for watching.